Welcome to the Podcast of Terror, a production of Galactic Nutcasts. With me, as always, is Corey, Big Daddy Spork Scott. Corey, how are you?
I'm fully sporked.
Fully sporked. That's what I like to hear. That's how you know you're ready to do your thing when you're in full spork mode.
That's true. Sometimes when your spork isn't prepared, you have to either wait for a refraction period, or you grab a spoon.
You heard it here first. Don't let your spork go limp. For more on this podcast, including show notes, contact information, subscription links, go to gncast.com/POT. For other shows from Galactic Netcasts, go to just gncast.com. Leave the pot out of it. Just gncast.com. No pot.
No
Free.
pot.
Corey added some notes here, which we probably should have done a really long time ago. This is the 23rd episode, and we're still trying to figure things out because we're trying to make it better for you. But this is a really spoiler-heavy podcast because we basically talk about whatever we talk about to the end. So if you haven't seen the movies we're discussing, you should watch it first.
We will talk a lot of stuff about the movies,
and we'll swear a lot too.
We will say some shit. Yeah,
lots of shit. For anyone keeping track, this is the Weird Old Weekly crossover episode. Last week, Wednesday, I believe, Dave and I discussed the truth behind The Exorcist. So this week, Corey and I are discussing the movie The Exorcist in a collaborative effort to make your pants move.
Yes, and I quite enjoyed the episode. I especially enjoyed the moment where Dave confused you for me.
Yeah. So funny story. Someone once asked me if I do not go back and listen to my own podcast because he was asking me about it. And honestly, I don't. I edit it. I release it. I do not go back to listen to it. So if you ever reference a podcast to me of something I said, chances are I forgot it by killing said brain cells.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, I'm kind of a dick like that. But yeah, it was a fun episode. I had The Exorcist. I literally finished watching in about 20 minutes before we did this, but
that's your MO. That's what you usually do.
Well, I was in Milwaukee all weekend helping my wife with her animal rescue stuff, so I didn't get home till later Sunday. So I like watching it as close to the actual recording as possible, so that I don't get shit wrong.
Yeah, I watched it Saturday night in a strange case of role reversal. I was watching The Exorcist in the bedroom, and my wife was watching musicals in the living room. She watched A Chorus Line and Fame. Two musicals I actually haven't seen, but I'm the big musical fan of the household, and she's the horror movie person, and she was kind of pissed at me when she walked in the bedroom, and she's like, "Are you watching The Exorcist?" I'm like, "Yeah, I told you I had to do this."
Matt made me watch it. I told you. You always blame me.
It's right. It's not a blame. It's just it's an assignment. It's my assignment for the week, and I enjoy doing it. But yes, it's still like, this is what I do on my Saturdays.
I'm gonna start spanking you with a ruler. If and honestly, if I wasn't out in Milwaukee,
that's probably beneficial for me.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, if I don't have band practice or something going on, I sit at home and watch movies on Saturday nights too. So it's okay.
Yeah, my only thing is that I have to start watching our movies earlier so I can finish in time to watch the Creepy Coffee Movie Time show. Even though they're in reruns, we do a chat and stuff with the different members from the cast, and the Cave Girls and the Deadlies and Weberly the Fat Rat and all these great people who I really love hanging out with, and gave me more of an appreciation for horror movies on my own, even before I started this. I think that's why I prompted you to say, "Hey, Matt, when are we going to do a horror show together?"
I don't remember. That was like 6 months ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't remember the conversations. But hey, speaking of, did you get a gift in the mail from me?
I did. I was going to bring it up when we do the white man business.
Oh, that's fine. It can wait. I literally just thought of it now, and I was genuinely curious if it showed up, because I had a lot of those come back to me, and we will discuss that when you bring it up. But
right.
On to the news. Given the fact that this is the Exorcist crossover show, I try to find news that literally pertained only to the Exorcist, which was super difficult given the fact that this movie hasn't It's not like the anniversary of its release or anything spectacular like that. Linda Blair is going to be on Oprah's Where Are They Now on like this coming Saturday, I think.
Which is a cruel thing to say about somebody. It's like Linda Blair, this young actress who was so phenomenal in this movie that she actually got an Oscar nomination, and now we're wondering what the fuck ever happened to Linda Blair.
Well, this movie was on, and my wife came in and she goes, "Yeah, it's The Exorcist. Everyone died, even the kid." And I'm like, "No," I said, "Linda Blair is literally about to be on an Oprah TV show." So
Yeah, almost everybody from this movie is still alive. Not quite, but quite a few people. The people that you look at and you think, "Oh, that person's surely dead." No, a lot of them are still doing stuff. Max von Sydow is going to be in Game of Thrones this season.
oh boy, Game of Thrones. I know how much you love Game of Thrones. What, everyone is all about Game of Thrones right now, which is a little ridiculous to me.
It hasn't let us down so far. There's we'll get to that too. Hey, but no, I think she's probably thinking of Poltergeist.
I think so. She's see, I stopped myself from saying something that would potentially upset people. I'm gonna pat myself on the back. I'm sure she's not nearly as into horror movies as you and I are, so I'm sure that's right because the Poltergeist kid is dead, right?
I know that the eldest daughter from Poltergeist passed away in between the filming of the first and the second movie, and then the youngest daughter passed away during the filming of the third movie, I believe, when she was actually playing on Happy Days as well. I think there were some other deaths.
Yeah, I think Poltergeist film had a lot of deaths too, so it wasn't just The Exorcist that had problems. But
Exorcist did have a couple people who passed away before the film actually got released.
yes. I was trying to find exactly who, but when you Google like Exorcist movie trivia or facts or whatever, it gives you a bunch of bullshit like, oh, when she spits, it's pea soup. Like everyone knows. We'll get into that a little more later when we actually talk about the movie. But the other piece of news on last week's episode, we kind of talked about the TV show that was happening. They recently released the title. The news title is very, very wrong. It's fucking wrong. It's listed as saying Exorcist TV show plot, cast, release date. It literally says nothing about any of that other than there's no news on the final casting, but the names of the executive producers of the series are revealed, including some Slater character who did some stuff, and James Robinson and David Robinson and Barbara Wall. I don't know.
According to
people than I would.
Yeah, according to the article, who is it? Slater, whatever his name is, he was the writer of the recent Fantastic Four movie. So people are scared shitless that he's associated with anything because that movie was such a bomb. Although that movie has a lot of things that made it a bomb, not the least of which is the fact that it had very little to do with the Fantastic Four as characters, but it had a lot of hands in that honeypot that swirled things around, and I think those hands were not clean.
Yeah, that the latest Fantastic Four was the Silver Surfer one, right?
No, there was one that came out this past summer that was the new younger crowd of Fantastic Four where they were trying to relaunch it, and it is one of the lowest rated films.
Oh, that's the one where the fire guy was black, right?
Yes, Johnny Storm was black in it. That was a big uproar for a lot of people online. I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I have no problem with that. But
cares. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The skin doesn't the character.
Yeah, the characters. He was probably the character that seemed the most in line with what the character was based around of. Okay. So again, I just hope he winds up in an actual Marvel film as another character to get redemption, like what happened to the original Human Torch from the other Fantastic Four movies, who became Captain America. But no, it was the guy who was directing it, Josh Trank, Trask? I don't know. He did Chronicle. He was supposed to be doing one of the standalone Star Wars movies coming up, and the shit went down so bad on the Fantastic Four film that he was reportedly let go. There's been some back and forth as to whether that's actually the case or not, but he's not doing Star Wars anymore, and I don't think he's had anything else announced in a while either.
Wah, wah, wah. I should really make a soundboard so I don't have to mouth sounds.
Yeah, but you do such great things with your mouth.
Well, not only that, but that sounds like a lot of work, and we all know I'm not about work.
That is absolutely the truth.
I like taking the easy way out. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Or in. So yeah, so we still don't know anything really about this show. I stand by all the statements I said last week. We got no angry letters about it, so I was right. I'm just gonna declare that I was right. Fox sucks, and this is probably gonna be a horrendous mess. The only thing that I take some relief from is that they say that at first they were not going to try to redo the horror film, but then they changed their mind since now they would collaborate with Fox for this project, and there are reports coming out that Morgan Creek would work alongside Slater. Oh,
that was. I literally just skimmed the story to try and get like the highlights. That was the one thing I noticed, and that was the one thing I know we discussed last week, that it's like Fox could just destroy this by foxing it up.
Yeah.
God, they're gonna do it. We're all gonna be really sad.
Just prove me wrong, Fox. Just go ahead and prove me wrong. I'm okay with being wrong. I'm wrong a lot. I would love it if you just blew my mind with this shit and did a Fargo on me. That would be phenomenal. Please make that happen. I just have zero to less faith in you on your regular TV stuff. Your FX channel is phenomenal. So yeah, fucking Justified and Fargo, do that shit.
Yeah, they fucking screwed the pooch on Sunny in Philadelphia. So,
and by moving it over to FXX.
Well, yeah, and it just got really ridiculous. And
I don't know. I like the skiing episode this season.
See, I don't know. Last season had like one good episode, and this season I've been really underwhelmed with everything. But this is not the place to talk about that.
No.
This is
going to go off topic at all.
Yeah, this is going to turn into my soapbox to just complain about things. Back in my day. Oh, not sound like Brad.
That is true. Well, speaking of complaining, you can help the Galactic Netcast by complaining about what we do with money. You can throw money at us and just talk shit at the same time. It's funny how cash will let you do whatever you want, Donald Trump. And so you can go to Galactic Netcast's Patreon at patreon.com/Galactic Netcast. Boy, it's funny how that works. And as little as $1 a month. Or if you move up to $3, you cheap bastard, you can get our newsletter with extra stories related to all of our different podcasts. For $5 a month, you can move up to an extra episode of each of our podcasts. We were just talking pre-show about some of the things that we'd like to do for that, and we want to do that for you or to you, as the case may be. So $5 gets you more of us in your ear holes. And there is the secret special one member only can do it, $20 a month Patreon subscriber who can basically produce a show, choose the host that you want from the network, and we will do a podcast strictly for you. And I was going back and forth with Dave on this the other day of like, this is limited, right? We're not going to get like 30 people who all get to produce their own shows. And he's like, no one's doing it yet. I'm like, well, I'm just saying when it happens, it's going to happen big.
Still looking for an excuse to do a cooking show. So if someone wants me to host a cooking show.
And speaking of cooking shows, Carrie Sims, who I believe has a cooking show coming out on a different network.
Yes.
Traitor. But she is one of our new Patreon supporters, as well as Sean Tillman. And we want to thank them for their contributions.
Thank you, Carrie and Sean, for being our internet friends with money.
And speaking of money and friendliness, you can also support one of our sponsors, Statosphere Merch, at statospheremerch.com, and use the coupon code TERROR for 15% off your entire order. And then you can wear a snazzy Drown the Lifeguard t-shirt like I'm wearing here that you can't see because of my microphone and my video and shit. But I have been wearing it all day, and it's nice and got the sweaty goods in it now, and I love it.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it, man. Those are really nice shirts.
It was incredibly nice of you to send it out to me.
Hey, I'm all about it. Speaking of comfortable things and spending your money, kind of a shitty situation. We talked about this before the show started, but our our very good friend. I think we can call him a very good friend. Matt Vincent was burglarized while he was in San Diego last weekend. Some cocksucker broke into his rental car and stole his backpack, which consisted of his cameras and his laptop. Also took his wife's backpack. I'm sure she had things in there. So fuck that guy.
Yeah, and smart move doing it when Vincent isn't around because he would utterly destroy you.
When he posted a video saying that it happened, and I text my really good friend Seth, and I was like, dude, we call him MV because I hate typing his name out. But I was like, dude, he got robbed, and Seth was like, who the fuck would rob him? And I'm like, I don't know, some guy broke into his car. And then we had a discussion about robbery versus thievery. So I learned that being robbed means at gunpoint, which no one would ever do because Matt is a fucking monster. But I digress. So please, as a friend of ours, both personal and the show, please go to thehate.com, THEHVIII. That's 3 I's. Buy some tits clothes. I'm actually wearing his new sweatshirt. Not because I have a serious man crush on the guy, but it's like baby kittens are just. I'm surrounded by kittens. This is how soft this sweatshirt is. It's amazing. So use the coupon code KICK15, get 15% off. You could support him and his message and help him get back on his feet to recover all of the shit that he lost.
Yeah, and that's what he's asking for too. He's not even asking for, send me money or anything or asking for that kind of help. He's like, no, just buy stuff on the site. And you'd be buying stuff on the site, getting great shit that looks fantastic on Matt every time he wears it on here. You look so pretty. But also you get a discount on it, which is nice for you too.
We actually, him and I were talking briefly before we recorded this. He's going to come back before his Highland game season starts too.
Wow.
So be on the lookout for that. It actually probably be pretty quick because I think the season starts like April. So
yeah. So what you need to do as a listener is maybe take the day off of work because it's gonna be a long one. It's probably gonna take a lot out of you too.
If we can max out the Google Hangouts time limit of 8 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
No, that's a bad idea.
But we're not far removed from that.
No. We're not beyond that. The reason we're here, dearly beloved, we're gathered here today to talk about the 1973 cult classic, The Exorcist. I don't even know where to start. If you haven't seen this movie, climb out from the fucking rock that you've been under for 45, 43 years or whatever.
I'm going to make an admission. I had seen this movie, but I had only seen it when it was re-released in the theaters in 2000.
It's definitely not a movie that I watch a lot of. It's dark and disturbing. And
not short. But it was the like you've never seen it version of the film. Includes the spider walk down the stairway that was cut from the original. But so was the thing that everybody screamed in the theater when it happened when we saw it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep in mind, I didn't see this movie till I was probably 18, so you're looking at when was that? 2003. So by that time, the DVD was the director's cut. I know when we talked about doing this movie, your wife said that we had to watch the director's cut. I'm like, I don't even think I've seen the theatrical cut, so I'd never seen the movie without the spider walk.
Yeah, and that's not even the part of the movie that freaked people out the most. When it was playing in the theaters originally, what made people the most queasy and sick and in some cases faint was the Spinal Tap scene when they have Reagan strapped down and they stick a thing into her neck and then it starts spurting blood and then they're putting a tube in there to essentially release either oxygen or helium into her brain and then hooking her up in the machine and scanning her, which she got 2 of those in the film. And what happened with Ellen Burstyn is she went to see the movie on her own, hadn't seen it yet, went to the actual theater. Somebody got up at around that scene, walked out of the theater. She went out after them and saw them pass out. And so she went to try to revive them and realized, oh, if they wake up and they see me and
Mhm.
recognize me from the movie, that may freak them out more. So she got some of the people that worked at the theater to help out instead. But that was a tough scene out of a lot of tough scenes in this film, because that one was just pure realistic. That was hard.
Yeah, man, so we're coming from two very different perspectives because, like I said, when I saw this movie, I was 18. Horror movies leading up to my seeing of this were much different. I mean, everything was pretty gory back then, so I didn't get queasy. I know my mother-in-law, when she saw it in the theater, she almost passed out, so she did get up and leave, which I guess I understand.
Yeah.
I get it for the time. It was a super. It was a pretty fucked up movie. I mean, it still is. There's something about the way that Linda Blair was able to portray a possessed child. And I know a lot of things went into it. There was makeup in it. It clearly wasn't her voice, but
Yeah, and that was part of what got her shunned in Hollywood, is that she did the acting in the film, and then when she got nominated for an Oscar, the person who originally didn't want credit for doing her voice decided that she did want credit. That
yeah,
came out, and so they were like, "Oh, well, she shouldn't get the Oscar if it was someone else's voice overdubbed." Like they for some reason couldn't tell, I guess. So
I I mean,
they she stayed nominated, but then she basically got shunned from Hollywood for quite a while.
which is stupid. How would you not know? I mean, even if it was her voice, there'd be so many effects on her voice. I mean, and I know the woman who did the voice while she was possessed was a heavy drinking and heavy smoking older woman.
And was drinking things like raw eggs to
Yeah,
be able to get her voice raspy, and started drinking again for the film. She had to keep her priest in with her to kind of have her work through it, because she had given up drinking before this.
yeah. Which to do that and then to be like, "Nah, I don't really want credit for going through that." Um, I don't know. It seems a little fishy to me. Or maybe she didn't want credit because she thought the movie was going to be so bad and people would hate it so much that she didn't want her name attached to it. But if that's the way you feel, then why put yourself through, you know, going back to drinking after you've quit drinking? Clearly, someone who sounds that rough had some problems.
Yeah.
So why would you? I don't know. I guess I don't get it. But um, all the scenes while she's possessed, that kind of made me. I'm not gonna say uneasy, but like the turn your head and like the what the fuck did I just witness? The crucifix scene,
Yes.
which I went to private schools my entire life, so when I saw that, it was like, oh god damn. Um,
Just the amount of times that she's screaming "fuck me" at people. I
which
mean,
apparently she really didn't know what she was doing, which kind of helps because it's like it plays into the fact that she really was just this innocent kid who was just acting, um, which is kind of cool, but kind of not cool.
it, is it exploitive? Is the question? And in that at that point in time, when she's 13 years old in 1973, I could see that that's what they feel would be the case. But she was an actress, and it's a question of. I mean, I don't know that she's had a lot of problems. There was a point where she got caught with some cocaine, which I guess belonged to a friend, and so that was another thing that got her ostracized in Hollywood for a while.
It always belonged to a friend.
Yeah, but I think in her case it's actually true. But she's always had a really good sense of humor about stuff, and she's managed to do other things. What I think is really amazing is not only did she do the sequel, Exorcist to the Heretic, but years later she wound up doing a parody of The Exorcist called Repossessed,
Yes.
which is just one of those great things to not only be able to do a movie and have a huge amount of success, but being able to do the parody of the film as well. The only other person I can think of doing that was the fat guy from Varsity Blues who went up and on another teen movie, basically playing the exact same character of Billy Bob.
I mean, you take the paychecks where you can get them.
Yeah.
The other weird things, I don't know. I don't know quite how to describe how the movie makes me feel.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a good movie, but it's such a good movie that I feel like I need to take a shower after I watch. Like, when Reagan's possessed and tells, oh, it's not Father Baron. Who's the other one? Father Karras? He tells,
Yeah, Father Karras is the main guy throughout the film.
yeah. He tells Father Karras that his mother sucks cocks in hell.
Yes.
Ooh, that's cold-blooded.
Or as the Saturday Night Live sketch with Richard Pryor goes, "Your mother's sews socks that smell." It's pretty vicious. And then she starts speaking to him in his mother's voice, who had passed away just before he went to go help with this. And weird, because I remember her being in the hospital, him going to visit her in the hospital, but then they say that she died in her home and nobody found her for a couple of days. So I don't know if that was how that scene exactly added up.
Yeah, I don't want to sit and nitpick the movie. I don't want to find loopholes in it because
No, that might be just something that I missed. I don't know that was something that was.
But I don't know either. So that could have been something that they glossed over, regardless of if there's an answer or not that we both missed, which is 100% likely. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I like it too much.
Other stars in this movie, I mean, Ellen Burstyn is the mom. She obviously is best known for playing the voice of Grandma Dollarhide in Red Dragon. And then Max von Sydow, who did the voice of Vigo in Ghostbusters 2. They've been on other things, but I just wanted to go with the voice thing since they were both uncredited in those films, and I figured that goes hand in hand with what this film is.
That's funny. There's a band called Bone Dance, and they have a shirt that just has Vigo's head on the front. I own it, by the way.
Vigo's head?
No, the shirt with Vigo's head.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, you could do some fun stuff with that.
Just wear Vigo the Carpathian's head around.
Just dress up your penis like a little baby.
Man, that's...
Wow. That's a visual. Let's move on. So Max von Sydow in this is made to look older, but when I'm watching this movie, all I think is that looks exactly like Max von Sydow. So I don't know what he looked like at the same time in 1973, but they aged him so accurately because it was kind of like Patrick Stewart in Dune or in Excalibur, where he looks exactly the same as he looked 40 years later. I'm like, this is how Max von Sydow looks.
Yeah, I didn't know that they made him look older. I just kind of thought dude was that old.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was concerned about, is that okay, Max von Sydow looked like this in 73 and he looks exactly the same in 2016. Eerie.
Maybe he's a vampire and just never ages.
I would assume that it has something to do with Ming the Moralis's ring, since he played him in Flash Gordon.
I don't get your reference.
You have to watch Flash Gordon if you haven't seen it. I will put that on the list.
But it's not a horror movie.
It will be when you watch it.
Lana, I hate you so much. You're not my dad.
You don't know.
Let's not get into that. Should be taking DNA tests by the end of this.
So the whole opening happens in Iran with the Father Marin character wandering around, going through what is, I guess, some sort of like crisis of faith thing. I'm not exactly sure that it's clear what he's suffering from, but he's going through archaeological digs, and he just really seems to be having problems. He's taking heart pills, and the whole opening scene seemed very long, and I don't know that it gave me a lot. There's some point where he sees a statue and he looks at it and he turns his back and there's somebody behind him with guns, and that's about it.
I didn't get that either. I mean, obviously the statue is like the source of the evil because towards the end of the movie, you see Reagan like screaming, and the statue like appears in the shadow. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, there's a couple of flashes in here where sometimes they just flash on a face, and other times they flash on some other things. But for the most part, it was kind of left to you to kind of figure out what's going on.
Yeah, which I don't know how to explain this. So I saw the movie. I'm gonna kind of get off topic a little bit, but the movie Strangeland, which was the D. Snyder horror movie.
Right. Where he play a character named Captain Howdy?
Yes, and I saw that movie before I saw this, so I never really realized that Captain Howdy was the name of the demon from The Exorcist.
Yes.
Which I love the Strangeland movie. So if you ever want to watch it, I'm up for it.
We might have to because I haven't seen that since around the same time that we saw this in the theater.
It had the greatest soundtrack ever for the time.
That
For me, because it was like new metal up the ass, and that was definitely what I was listening to at that time.
and doesn't it star Linda Cardellini?
You're so much better with people's names than I am. That's not my thing. I'm gonna look it up though now because
I want to say that that's the case.
I'm gonna see if Linda Tortellini's in it.
Which, if I'm right, then she went on to play Velma in these Scooby-Doo movies. But yeah, the Captain Howdy thing, when they brought it up when Reagan's mom finds the Ouija board and asks her, "Do you know how to play with this?" And she's like, "Yeah, I guess." And then it's like, "Oh, well, let's go play with the Ouija board," which is another thing that 1973, I guess it must have been like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, let's," because it was essentially, wasn't it put out by Parker Brothers or something?
Yeah. Going back, Linda Tortellini is in Strangeland. I know, and I didn't realize that that's who that was because she was also in Daddy's Home, the new Will Ferrell movie, and I would probably
Grandma's Boy.
No. Daddy's Home.
She was also in Grandma's Boy.
Oh yeah. You're right. Sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to. She was in a lot of shit. Yeah, but
she's quite a great actress.
She was foxy in a lot of these movies.
She is also attractive.
Okay.
Yeah, so mom decides to play with the Ouija board with little Reagan, and that's when we get introduced to the idea of Captain Howdy, and goes from there to the mom, who is an actress, has a big party with all of her Hollywood friends, including the director, who keeps ostracizing the helper around the house, calling him a German Nazi just to set him off. And then Reagan comes downstairs and talks to the guy that Chris McNeil, the mother, is crushing on, Burke Dennings, looks at him and says, "You're going to die," and pisses all over the floor. And that's really where things start off.
Yeah, that was an intense little situation.
And so she goes to the hospital, starts having all these tests. The doctor's like, "So Reagan swears a lot?" And mom's like, "No, she doesn't swear at all." "Well, she said things like, 'Get your fingers away from my cunt,' to me."
Which I thought it was weird that the mom like giggles at that. Like,
I think because she's just so floored that it's not something that she would ever imagine her daughter saying at that point in time. She doesn't realize this is still like she's not even sure that she's sick, and things haven't gotten that bad. But the saying the bed's always shaking, so I can't sleep, and all that stuff, she hasn't seen any evidence at that point, so she's just kind of floored by it.
I don't know, man. I don't have kids. So I guess I don't know how I would react if my kid came to me and like, "Yeah, I can't sleep because my bed's always shaking."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's just...
Well, people instinctually, as adults, we think, well, that's not real. So obviously there's something else wrong. Just go to bed. It'll be okay. Instead of the parental instinct should be, go protect your children, figure out what might be going on. Either Even if there's not something physically there, but they feel that something's there, then you kind of explore that with them. But I'm not a parent either, so I'm just talking out my ass. I would probably just be like, "Shut up! I'm playing on my phone."
Trying to masturbate here.
Yeah.
So if you listen and you have a child, please email at pot@gmcast.com and let me know how you would react if your child was like, hey, I can't fucking sleep because my bed won't stop shaking.
Yeah. It's like I shook you when you were a baby. So the next things that starts happening is the mom starts seeing these things happening. The bed starts shaking, and she sees it in the room, and she jumps on the bed and shaking with her. But the doctors continue to disbelieve any of it, and they put Reagan through multiple tests, painful, horrific tests, and then they finally say, "Well, you could always try an exorcist." Like, okay, we don't really have any other ideas at this point. Everything we test keeps saying it's false, and we're gonna try it again, but no, that's false too. You can go to a psychiatrist, but they'll just tell you to go back to the doctor. And hey, have you thought about talking to somebody about God?
Which is, I mean, in 1973, the idea of an exorcist or an exorcism was much more taboo. Like
Well, they
now it's a little different. I mean, the idea of exorcisms or someone being an exorcist is pretty easy to come by.
yeah. Well, I mean, now we've got people who are doing it on TV and stuff. But at that point in time, they didn't even want to use the title "The Exorcist" for the movie because nobody knew what it meant. They were afraid that it wouldn't work to get people enticed to the film. And then when you watch the original trailer, it doesn't reveal much about the film. I think it was mostly the face flashing.
Oh, I saw that the trailer was in one of the news articles, and I never actually watched it because I've seen the movie. So why do I need to watch the trailer?
But yeah, so then we get the introduction. Well, we're kind of watching Father Karras' story go along at the same time with his mother, and he just seems really depressed in general, walking around this town. And he meets up with this cop, played by Lee Cobb, the Lieutenant William Kinderman, who's I don't remember exactly why he approached him. It was about something like this person died, and what do you think maybe this has to do with? And he's trying to charm him a little bit. He keeps inviting him to see the movies, just hang out more. But he threatens him some, and then he backs away from threatening him. And he's like, "Yeah, you seem like a cool guy. We should go hang out. You can blow me in the popcorn." I didn't quite understand all of that part, but eventually he gets Karis to go and meet up with the mom, who at this point in time, the guy that she liked, Burke, is dead. That does come up again with the cop later on. He goes to meet her and talks about it because they say he fell down the stairs, and he's like, no, the way that he looked, it's like he died and then was thrown out the window in your daughter's room. But it would take the strength of a very large man to be able to do that. And if the only person in there was your 13-year-old little girl, that seems impossible.
Not if she's possessed by a dick devil.
Yeah. Yeah. That is apt.
Yes.
There is actually
by a dick devil, you can throw an adult if you're a 13-year-old girl.
There was some speculation as to why this guy was in a 13-year-old girl's room, and maybe if that was part of why he got tossed out the window. But they never really explored that in the movie, so that's just outsider speculation.
You know, I honestly never thought about that fact that happened.
Yeah, I mean, everybody in the house is gone, doing different stuff, and the assistant Sharon has to go to get some of the drugs for Reagan. And so when the mom comes back and there's nobody there, and she's all pissed, she's yelling at her, and she's like, "Well, no, Burke was here. Burke was helping her out. Well, there's nobody here now." And then the director of the film comes in and says, "So I guess you heard about Burke." She's like, "What?" Goes, "Oh, well, he's dead. He's real dead. Gotta go." And he's like, that's exactly what happens.
Hit the old dusty trail.
Yeah, so Burke's dead. I'll see ya, you know.
Well, someone had to deliver the news.
You're coming to work tomorrow, right? Yeah, then we finally get Father Karras is in there, and he tries to work with Reagan, realizes that shit is fucked up really fast. And that's when we call in Father Marin, and they go, and the power of Christ compels you to sit through 20 minutes of just some really crazy fucked up shit.
Yeah, shit got real at the end of the movie. I think the fact that even like having seen this movie multiple times and rewatching it for this, the fact that I sat there in silence, like even knowing what was going to happen and knowing what was coming and knowing the things that she said and still just being like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was, I mean, when I think about ghosts and stuff and things moving around the house with psychometry and stuff, I always go to Poltergeist. I grew up watching Poltergeist. I'm not going to say age appropriate, but I was around the age of the kids in Poltergeist when Poltergeist came out. So I remember that movie. Plus, my wife watches it all the goddamn time. But seeing some of that stuff that was happening in 1973 in this film as a precursor to that, and the things that they did, it's pretty. I would have freaked out in 73. You know, if I wasn't two, I would have freaked out seeing this in the theater compared to the other stuff that was out there.
Yeah, but if you think about it, I mean, like blatantly gory slasher movies started coming out towards at the end of the 70s. I don't really know what horror movies came out up to this point or the level of gore involved, but
well, The Town That Dreaded Sundown we talked about, that was not far after this.
How popular was that movie?
Yeah, that's true, but it's
I read some fact that if you did math, that if The Exorcist came out now and made the same amount of money in 73, you know, inflation all included, it would be the highest grossing rated R movie ever.
Highest grossing rated R movie, highest grossing for Warner Brothers ever as well when adjusted for inflation.
Yeah, which is insane. The fact that so many people had such a hard time watching this movie, yet they kept going back to see it.
Yeah, and this is, of course, another one of those movies that people protested before it came out, but it wasn't the same level of, well, it didn't work. You know, this movie came out, it was extremely successful because people didn't know how to react to it. And I guess because maybe they at least had some semblance of the holy men kind of winning in the end. We do get a resolution. They actually say in the movie that when you've had someone who's been possessed, they can't be possessed again. But then there is a sequel. So I would have to see the sequel to know what the hell happened in that regard.
I've never seen the sequel either, so I don't know if Reagan is possessed again or if she's just like a reference character for, you know, the person who's possessed. Reagan goes and helps exorcise the demon.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, Max von Sydow shows up in the sequel as well, and I assume it's just going to be some sort of flashback. But I'm not certain.
I would hope so. I'm not going to watch that movie. If you're listening and you have seen The Exorcist 2, please email us.
Yeah, but if you email us and tell us that we have to review The Exorcist 2, we'll wind up watching The Exorcist 2.
Which is fine, because I would rather someone say, you know what, actually, it's not a complete steamy pile of garbage dog shit. You should watch it, versus me watching it only to find out that it's a steamy pile of garbage dog shit.
Well, there's reasons why nobody ever talks about the second one, but it does have James Earl Jones, Ned Beatty, Richard Burton.
I feel like a lot of those people probably saw the success of the first one and were like, you know what, I'll do the second one because it's going to be good. And then they were fooled. I'm Rotten Tomatoing it.
Yeah.
3, so, right?
What's that?
Made a 3, right?
They did make a 3. I don't think anybody came back for 3.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Made a prequel, which sucked balls.
But as we've alluded to, the priests from this film, they don't last. They don't make it. And yet we still get a somewhat happy ending.
Yeah.
Much like with a lot of priests.
The Exorcist 2 got a 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, whereas the original got an 87.
Which 87 even seems kind of low. I guess it's just some people. Well, it's the unimpressed millennials that are like, oh, this thing's a piece of shit. Insidious is so much better.
Insidious is a different
Yeah.
apples to oranges in my opinion. But I'm gonna go 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I would be. You should just come up and slap me in the street if I don't give this movie a 5 out of 5.
Well, just spend a lot of I'm just gonna make a bunch of noises. I would be
I don't even know that this needed to be rated. It's just it's the fucking Exorcist. It's like you said at the beginning. If you haven't seen it, get off your ass and go watch The Exorcist. It's one of those things. It's a classic for a reason, and obviously films have advanced and tastes have changed, and we've all gotten jaded and ruined by our MTV and our Nintendo Game Boys and something else that you kids say to the fifth power. Uh, doesn't matter. It's the goddamn Exorcist. It's
it,
got an amazing cast at a time when we didn't even know a lot about them yet. And it does a phenomenal job of telling this story that makes it genuinely scary and still feels genuine.
and they don't. There isn't all this CGI and special effects. I mean, during the exorcism at the end, I mean they basically turned that bedroom into a freezer.
Yeah, they did. It was like negative 30 degrees. I guess Linda Blair still doesn't like the cold because of it.
Yeah,
The other thing is that Friedkin, the director, a lot of scenes were honest reactions. Like when she throws up on the priest, it was supposed to hit his chest. It hits him in the face by mistake, and so they left it in there because the reaction was pure, honest. What in the fuck? When the mother gets thrown across the room, she actually bruised or fractured her coccyx, I believe, because they had wires that pulled her back, but it was too hard. It was more force than what was necessary. So, in quite a few places in this, there were genuine reactions to things that were either painful or scary or surprising, and that shows in the film. If you don't know that stuff going in, you just think that it's really good acting, but it's because no shit was happening.
yeah, which is they don't do stuff like that anymore. They don't. They don't. I can't think of the words I want, but they're unable to elicit a genuine response.
Yeah.
They're not willing to, or they're too lazy. They just, we'll just make it all computer.
Well, one of the last big times that I remember that being something that was advertised as part of the making of the film was the Blair Witch Project, where they were doing things to actually freak out the actors while they were filming it, and they didn't know a lot of the stuff that was going to happen to them. I think I think it's both cool when you do that, and I also think that if I was, part of the film, I might have problems with that. We're in a don't touch me unless I say it's okay kind of world. But then we also have the haunted houses that you sign a waiver and then they get carte blanche to do whatever they want to you.
Yeah, I do a lot of internet reading about those places because I refuse to go to one by myself.
Yeah, I would not go to anything like that by myself.
Oh.
And I'm not sure if I'm at the age where I could physically handle going to one at all. Sometimes I like to think I'm younger than I am. But it's intriguing.
Oh man, and there's one in San Francisco. There's one in California. It's called Blackout. It's in New York and I believe San Francisco, and there was a point at which it was in Chicago. It has such an insane cult following, and oh goddamn, like they do off-season stuff. And I remember reading one where they basically you had to get invited, and if you accepted the invitation, they were like, go here and answer the payphone that rings. And the guy answered the phone call and then went to some hotel, and they're like, all right, check into this room and go to sleep. And he said, it's really difficult when something's going to happen to try and sleep. And like all the lights went out, and he ended up like in the bathroom, and there was a chick in the bathtub, and all this crazy shit was going on. And I'm like, it was insane to read. I want to see it, but I don't want to experience it.
Yeah, I want somebody to somehow film someone else going through. So like it looks like a Saw movie.
Essentially, but now what do you do? It's got to be almost 10 years into it. It's how do you keep making it as awesome?
Right.
I don't know, but if by some stretch of the imagination, someone who works at Blackout or knows someone who works at Blackout and is willing to come talk about it, I want that.
Yes.
I would sell my firstborn child that I'll never have to be able to do that.
And Blackout will make sure that you don't.
Well, yeah, for sure. If I couldn't physically not do it, they would make sure I couldn't do it. But yeah, The Exorcist, it's fucking tits, and
It is. It is.
we could talk circles all day, all night, but I gotta remove a foot of snow in like hours.
So another reason to say fuck you, Oscars, because it doesn't matter if there was a tagged on voice. Linda Blair should have won the fucking Oscar for this. I don't care who else was up. I haven't even looked. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about anyone else.
What that kid went through and what that kid achieved in this film deserved a fucking Oscar.
Yeah. Now bullshit gets
Oscars. Speaking of bullshit, you can contact us by leaving us a message at 805-328-3966. Or on the website, we have a link there that you can call and leave a voicemail from that directly. Or you can email us at pot@gncast.com. That's pot@gncast.com. You can follow us on Twitter or Instagram. We are Podcast of Terror in both of those places. You can subscribe to this podcast via iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcatcher. And you can leave us a review there, whichever one. Doesn't matter. You can go to all three. You can just say in every single one of them, wow, Matt is really pretty. I hope he takes that shirt off next time. And all of your subscription options can be found under the subscribe tab at gncast.com/pot.
No one wants me to take my shirt off. Even my wife doesn't want me to take my shirt off.
But I bet if you did and you took pictures of it and you posted it on our Facebook page under Galactic Netcasts, people would go there. They would go there and join up and see all the great things that we're doing at Galactic Netcasts.
People only want to see me without a shirt on because they assume it's like a car accident.
Yes. A sexy car accident.
Sexy car accident.
I would assume that one of the vehicles is a gremlin just entering like a big school bus and backing out and entering and backing out.
What?
I don't know a lot about cars.
Things are getting out of control. Thanks. Thanks for spending your time with us. And we'll I don't know. Corey has me so flustered right now. I'm finding it difficult.
You're pretty when you blush.
Stop. Thanks for listening to the Podcast of Terror. We'll catch you guys next time.
Stay scary, everybody.
All right.